With agriculture, the social structure has changed a lot. Agriculture allows for very small producing units, that is, the nuclear family. And from these autonomous elements, there will start a new social picture, and humanity will be on a new path. Around 6000 BCE, we have small farming units, that is, nuclear families, spread all over southwestern Asia, slowly diffusing towards Europe. In northern Mesopotamia, it's possible to make dry agriculture. Rain water is enough to grow plants. Every nuclear family is permanently in a search for new pieces of land to settle on. And so they go north to Anatolia, and they conquer all of Anatolia, and they do the same to the east in Iran, and to the south, they found themselves with a problem. Southern Mesopotamia is a desert. Rainwater is not enough for agriculture. You have to find a new solution. It is to bring the water artificially from the rivers, Euphrates and Tigris, to the field. This is irrigation. This means uh, water dams and water canals that need an extensive and permanent repair, and that means a certain concentration of people at the same place. Irrigation agriculture starts in central Mesopotamia and then later in southern Mesopotamia. Those two rivers bring a lot of alluvium. Alluvium makes very rich soil. It's possible to make a very efficient type of agriculture. But the society needs to be organized for the agriculture to thrive. So that means people had to stay together. The dispatching of small elements all over the place is not possible anymore. People have to stick together for the irrigation agriculture to be possible. So population integrates after several generations. Food is plenty. Population grows, but it grows within an integrated political unit. And we see some form of hierarchy. Where does hierarchy come from? Well, it's simply the family structure that we saw with the firstborn males that have a responsibility. Now, this responsibility tends to grow as the population grows and as the responsibility of elders over the younger elements of the society grows. And as those elders tend to be responsible for more and more production, for more and more material products, and for more and more people to marry. We saw that marriage was now a matter of alliance. That is, bride prices take a lot of importance. Now, when a girl from your lineage marry to another lineage, the other lineage gives you a bride price in compensation for the loss of the girl. So there's a whole economic pattern, which means that all the male elements, young elements of the lineage, have to ask for their elders to pay the bride price so that they can get married to a female from another lineage. And so this economic element plays more and more importance. And that's how the younger elements get more and more under the influence and are more and more dependent on the elders. When we talk about small communities, the kin relations are still strong, so the hierarchy remains low. But as the population grows and as it integrates in the same political unit, after generations and generations, the kin relationships between those people tend to be totally forgotten. And the relations between those people are relations between foreigners. and they are related after a while, not through kinship, but through a hierarchical pattern where the elders take a communal decision for the entire community by themselves. They form a class by themselves, authoritarian class, and they hold the material product of the entire community. After a while, especially when those elders start to live together in the highest district within surrounded walls in magnificent palaces, now we start to be talking about an elite and a clear differentiation between the elite class and the people. The elite lives in completely different context, but their wealth and their prestige comes from the extortion of the value produced by the people. And then the elite needs an excuse for this social context to continue. The first people who settled were at the very beginning of the settlement. The few couples at the very root of the settlement, thousands of years ago, are as individuals completely forgotten, of course. But they have continued through generation as a concept. And those people have become, in time, pretty much mythological characters, and as the hierarchy grows and as the population grows, those mythical characters take the form of gods. And gods appear at this point on the way to the constitution of the first city states. There's a chiefdom stage. And after the chiefdom stage, where hierarchy is already efficient, the hierarchy and the same pattern of political integration continues until we have the first city state. The first city state is Uruk in southern Iraq. And this brings a whole new type of relation between people. Those city states have labor division. So we have differences between a corporation, each corporation being responsible for one specific task. They work as part of a whole community. The elite is here to make sure that the exchange, material exchange between those different corporations goes on smoothly, and especially that they can get part of the product in their own palaces. We have king lists that recall genealogies of all the kings. But this means that for the elite to be able to concentrate all the material production of the society, you need a system to keep record. And this is how writing will slowly come out. So by 3000 BCE, so that's 3000 years after very first nuclear families started to spread out everywhere in search of land, and 2 or 3 thousand years for those communities to integrate in a hierarchical way with elite on top exploiting the mass. But what needs to be understood is that this hierarchy is not, as we often tend to think, it's not people who took arms and said, "Well, now we conquer you and you work for us." It's the conclusion of a very very slow process where it's so slow that people have no conscience that the community evolves towards something structurally completely different. It's so slow that it all comes naturally by about 3000 BCE. In southern Mesopotamia, we have several autonomous city-states: Ur, Eridu, Pur, Lagash, Kish, Umma. There are maybe 15 or so such city-states, elites and kings, and labor division, very strong labor division within each of these city-states. Corporation took prominence. One is the people in charge of religion. We saw how the concept of God was created, and how an entire class of people was now supposed to entertain it in the eyes of the people, and a class of soldiers. In fact, those two labor classes have the same aim. It is to make sure that the social construction keeps on going the way it is. That is, in a very hierarchical way. Um, the God gives a reason for the society to be the way it is, and for people who are not content with this explanation and who want to revolt, the military is here. But in fact, the military is often used in another way. And that's one element that starts with the state also. It is war. There's been violence all through human history, but war is something different. War appear with the states. War is a legitimate violence that is directed by the elite. In such big concentration of people, there's an amount of energy that needs to be canalized. And how does this happen? It happens through the periodic confrontation of those armies. Each city state has an army, and they make war to each other every year, maybe. But the point of those wars or those battles are to make sure that this energy does not go against the elite. So it is directed towards other people of other city states. That's why the elites of each city state are in fact at the same level. There's a saying: war is made by people who don't know each other, but who kill each other for the sake of people who know each other, but don't kill each other. And that's exactly it. That's exactly what it is. And at one point, one particular king, the king of Kish, Sargon, will change the rules. He will not just battle for the tradition, he will battle to conquer the other city states. And that's when the very first state in Mesopotamia will be created out of the concentration and conquering of different autonomous city states within one state. And that's the state of Akkad. And then later states, like the Babylonians and the Assyrians, will conquer other states to make empires. Now we see that a village grows to make a city states together make a state, and states together make empire. It's pretty much the same evolution towards larger amounts of people integrated within one political unity. So we see how city-states and states are based, they are all based, economically speaking, on agriculture. So agriculture is still, just as it was in the Neolithic, the basic economic infrastructure. This has allowed a very different type of social formation, the state, and it's very interesting to see that what we just reviewed here for Mesopotamia, the exact same thing happened uh, in the other places on Earth where agriculture came out on its own. That is, in Central America, agriculture gave way to city states who gave way to the Maya and the Aztec states. The same thing happened in Southern America with the Inca, in China, where the agriculture of the rice gave way to city-states who end up forming the Chinese state and empires. So it's pretty much a natural evolution of humans that we see here. As for its reflection on the symbolism, well, we see that the symbolism of all those states are based on war and religion. It's the two main themes that we can see in the art of all those societies. It is because those two themes are at the very structural basis of all states on earth. And in Mesopotamia, once the state, the Akkadian and then the Assyrian states develop, it diffuses. State as a social component will diffuse to the north in northern Mesopotamia, and then in Iran, and then in Anatolia. It will give way to the Hittite states, and then in eastern Mediterranean to the Minoan and to the Mycenaean state, while in Egypt you have the pharaohs. At the end of the Bronze Age, there will be a strange time where all the states and empires will collapse, and it will bring back the society to the Neolithic stage with independent people farming, but it will very fast grow again as independent city states, and this is the classical city states of Greece, Athena, Sparta, Corinth, and the same thing will happen more to the west with Rome, and later with the states of France and England. So this is all actually, structurally speaking, it's all the same evolution. And from there, only once the state type of society has become the norm, people will move on to the next stage, which is the industrial revolution, which we'll be talking about very briefly in the next video.